another episode of Deep Dive on NewsX. For decades, Arunachal Pradesh has been one of the biggest flashpoints between India and China. China claims the entire state as part of what it calls South Tibet, while India has consistently maintained that Arunachal Pradesh is an integral part of India. But today, this contest is no longer just about claims and counterclaims. India is increasingly trying to change the balance on the ground through infrastructure, connectivity, border development, and now even official mapping. To understand why this matters, we have to go back to 1962. During the India-China war, areas such as Tawang and Thagla became major battlefields. One of India's biggest challenges was geography. The terrain was extremely difficult and moving troops, weapons and supplies to the frontier was slow. China meanwhile steadily developed infrastructure on the Tibetan side. For years, this gap remained a major strategic concern for India. But that equation is now changing. Take the Sela Tunnel, built around 13,000 feet. It provides all-weather connectivity towards Tawang and bypasses the difficult Sela Pass. Then there is the Nechi Phu Tunnel, which removes another bottleneck on the road to Tawang. India is also pushing the frontier highway and building major bridges across rivers such as the Siang and Lohit. The objective is simple: make India's frontier easier to reach, easier to supply and easier to defend. And now there is another important battle. On the map, China has repeatedly attempted to give Chinese names to locations in Arunachal Pradesh. In 2025, Beijing released its fifth list containing 27 locations. India rejected the move, but India has now also formally standardized 27 strategically important locations on its own official map. And these 27 locations are spread across some of Arunachal's most sensitive border districts. They include Longju, Maja, Bisa, Dizola, Rizala, Pukurla, Choto, Ropok and Bararopok in Upper Subansiri, Thagla and Jaswantgarh in Tawang, Sambho Sarovar, Karakundan, Chota Kundan and Dhanbari in Anjau, Pritnagar, Buddha Mandir, Jairampur, Tiritnagar and Ramnagar in Changlang, Sagar Padma, Jyoti Nagar and Baisakhi in West Kamang and Shivaji Nagar, Sunpura and Kamla Nagar in Lohit. Now this is important. These are not just locations on a map. Some have a direct connection to India's border history. Longju was the site of a confrontation with China in 1959. Thagla was a major flashpoint during the 1962 war. And Jaswantgarh and the Sher Thapa Memorial commemorate Indian soldiers associated with the fighting. So by formally placing these locations within India's official mapping framework, New Delhi is reinforcing its own historical and territorial record. But infrastructure remains the bigger story. India is also pushing railway connectivity towards Pasighat. While surveys have been carried out for possible rail links towards Tawang and Mechuka and brought the Vibrant Villages program, roads, bridges, telecom networks, electricity, healthcare and livelihoods are being developed in remote border settlements. So, has India completely put China on the back foot? Well, not yet. China still has enormous infrastructure and military capabilities across the Tibetan plateau. But India's approach has clearly changed. The old problem was that geography made the frontier difficult to reach. The new strategy is to make that geography less of a disadvantage. And that could matter enormously in the future, because the Arunachal contest is no longer being fought only at the line of actual control. It is being fought on roads, railways, bridges, tunnels, villages and even maps. China may continue to claim Arunachal Pradesh on paper, but India is increasingly trying to make its presence on the ground impossible to ignore. So let's go to retired Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni joining us as Senior Defence and Geopolitical Expert. General Kulkarni, thank you very much for joining us on this. Firstly, should this have been done much earlier? Was India in a position to do so, and what still needs to be done on ground?
Priti, thank you. You brought back old memories of mine. I spent almost 7 years of my 40 years of service in the army in Arunachal Pradesh. So a beautiful place, lovely people, and China can do what it wants to do. It would gain nothing. Absolutely. Rightly said, vain and prosperous exercise which Chinese indulge in with nothing to do. What they call it as a cartographic aggression. You know, they got build, name, claim. They're all kinds of nuisance value that the Chinese have. Lovely things. We have a fantastic now, as you rightly brought out, good tunnel, the Sela tunnel, the Nichipu tunnel, the lovely frontier, what we call it, the road, which is the Trans-Arunachal Highway, which is about 1,748 kilometers long. Fantastic connectivity all over, with lovely infrastructure coming up, vibrant villages having come up over there, fantastic airfields, lovely helipads, heliports all over. So it's something that we can all be proud about. And there is no way, and rightly so, I think the government, and especially the Survey of India, in conjunction with the state government, have decided to rename 27 of these places so that we know exactly all of them, whether it is in the West Coming, whether it is in East Coming, or whether it is in Subansuri, or whether it's on the Western Arunachal, Central, Eastern Arunachal, anything and everywhere. And as you were bringing out the areas like Longju, Visa, Maza, all of this, of course, Longju I wouldn't, but yes, Maza was a place where I would be going so often over there. We have the places, the Jaswantgarh, the Wang that you were naming it, the Bala Rupa, Chota Rupa, all these places have been, been identified and marked on the map, which is very, very important. I think this exercise would definitely be able to tell China that do not, if they intend to have good relationship with India, these kind of pinpricks which Chinese are known for should be avoided by China. And Arunachal Pradesh was, is, and will always remain the integral and inalienable part of India without fail. There is no denying and no doubt about it. Yeah.
All right, Lieutenant General, India has, of course, time and again made its position clear, even in international forum. But what does it really need to do to concretize that position so that it's not contested, so that there's no room for confusion or discussion again?
See, what happens with China, the maps are marked, and that's the reason why. Everything is on perception. And so what we call Arunachal Pradesh, earlier we used to call it Nepal, then we renamed it the state of Arunachal Pradesh, which is of course our own part, but they call it Zakdan, what they call it in the southern Tibet, all of it. Because the maps have not been marked. Because of this, you find that the Chinese do what they intend to do. And you're right, for years on, ever since from 1950 onwards, since the Communist Party of China has taken over China, we've been attempting to do that. But the Chinese, as you know, believe in the expansionist policies. They've taken over, they see what they've done with Aksai Chin, they see what we were referring to in 62, the Thadla Ridgeline, from where the war started, Longju, what we referred to in 1959. So all of it, you find that, yes, what you are saying is the best thing to do is to finally decide. But the Chinese don't want to do it. Because however much that the McMahon line has been marked in 1914, the Chinese don't want to recognize it. And therefore, this kind of a dispute which leads to, if the maps were marked, there would be no perceptual misunderstanding. It would be very clearly marked map. But since the Chinese do not believe in it, they believe in its ambiguity, and they want to do with what they call it as the cartographic aggression, so that over a period of time it would be seen as their own. But we have to be vigilant, and I'm glad the government, rightly so, there's a kind of infrastructure which has come up over there. The kind of you'll be surprised there has to be a ring road to be made to go to Itanagar. There's so much of traffic on that particular thing. We won't be able to get to Itanagar, which is the capital of Arunachal Pradesh. So so many roads are coming up, vibrant villages coming up. So many towers for communication which have come up, the tunnels which have come up, the railway lines which have come up, so much of activity, and China will just be the pinpricks. I think rightly said, I think the Home Ministry has released a statement to say vain and preposterous. There is nothing, and they're just wasting their time. And it's time that something sinks into the head that this kind of cartographic aggression will not help China. Arunachal is, always is, and you'll be surprised, Kitty, everybody in Arunachal Pradesh speaks Hindi. That's the language that they all speak. It's one language, anywhere, anybody wants to address, because there are so many tribes, everybody speaks Hindi, and that's virtually a language that is very common in Arunachal
Not to
Pradesh.
forget how beautifully they are integrated for the other northeastern states of India, the seven sister states, and the smart village and smart city programs are only adding to it. I'm sure, Lieutenant General, you could appreciate that. But for now, thank you very much for joining us and helping us with your opinion on this much needed. We now move on.